Yeah, I did not think I was going to be talking about this. Hi, welcome back to my soapbox, where I talk about everything that has and always has been on my mind. This video is a huge curveball for me. I swore up and down that my next video would not be about Ninjago, and well, Dragon's Rising Season 4 happened. If you don't want spoilers, girl, why'd you click on this? I have watched Ninjago as it's been coming out since the pilots aired. I know, I'm old, I fell off, and I'm gonna be so honest here. I haven't been excited by a season since probably Sons of Garmadon. I'm sure everyone and their mom that's an OG fan says that, but it's true for me. It's the tone, it's the characters, it's the stakes. I really enjoyed that one. And everything after it, well, the show felt like a chore I had to keep up with. I was super slow to catch up, I was out of the fandom by then, and while there were fleeting moments where it hit, I'm sure a lot of y'all can agree that Ninjago has a habit of fumbling their characters. Whether it's giving them some too much focus or not at all, or even God forbid they mess up the execution of an arc. There's an issue of balancing some kid-like humor at times. Obviously, this is only really a problem because I'm old and I fell off, so I stopped expecting Jago to wow me, to really grab my attention like it did when I was a kid. I'd tune in to see Zane, my beloved, but even then it got to a point where seeing how they treat his character just hurt to watch. He's really disappointed me for quite some time now. So way back, when I heard that Ninjago was having a revival of Dragon's Rising, I just shook my head and sighed, and I wondered why they just didn't let it rest already. But season 4? At least like the first half of it or whatever. Guys, I think it was all worth it. I've enjoyed Dragon's Rising, like, semi from the beginning. I've been really dissatisfied with Zane, but strangely enough, Kai's been a character I started gravitating towards. So at least I've really enjoyed his plot lines. Young me would be so appalled to hear that. I did not like Kai for the longest time, and honestly, that was because of me not really understanding his character more than anything, so like, whatever. But if you asked me to relay the plot of Dragon's Rising season 1 through 3, man, I'd be like, there's like Imperium or like something or whatever, and there's other things that happen. Yeah, I haven't seen them more than once, and I still have yet to rewatch them, but season 4! I know everyone is dying to know what I want to talk about with Zane, but I think it makes more sense to bring up some writing stuff first. I'm not really sure how much of a struggle bus it'll be for editing Jackie to find clips, so all of y'all 1 second attention span iPad kids can enjoy me building the 4 weapons blacksmith shop, and I'll cut in whatever clips I can manage. When you split plot lines, it can be super hard to make each of them equally engaging and interesting. It's extra hard when you're balancing storylines of legacy characters and newer characters, meaning most people would maybe probably want to skip the Sorafrak Wildfire Ryu storyline. I mean, I think you guys can probably think of the annoying OG fans who are probably like that and don't care about the new characters, so it's a very true thing. I don't agree with it, but it's true. However, in my viewing experience, each of them felt equally worth my time. Also, considering they're all centering around the Weapon of Desolation, obviously it's a lot harder to skip through sections. It is no surprise that Lloyd's Green Ninja plotline is well done and well loved by the fans. We all saw that coming. It's exactly what I expected, addressing his age time skip. Lloyd has to make up for something, his problems center around his anxiety, yada yada yada. All perfect. Bonus points for Euphrasia. Her voice is so lovely, I am actually obsessed. I'm also going to be jumping on the Aaron X Euphrasia train, yep. Then you have Kai, Nia, and Jay, which was also exactly what I expected. Primarily, we're concerned with getting Jay's memories back. I mean, that was obviously going to be a huge thing. They were totally gonna resolve it in a way. There was no way, honestly. I know a lot of people thought maybe they just won't give his memories back. I was like, no, I really doubt that. But anyways, Jay and Nation was eating good. I liked how there's this lingering mystery still on who erased Jay's memories and like why they did that. It's good to give us some closure on that plotline, but still opening up like another mystery. I also like that Jay is slowly getting his memories back. That is the best comedic relief tool you could give yourself as a writer. Like, that was so smart to do. I'm also so glad Cole was doing something. Oh my god, I'm so serious. You don't know how mad I've been. And he's been missing out on so much. His story went as silly and low-key as unserious as I expected. I liked how he's doing his best to investigate what's going on, even though that's not really his forte. It is cheesy to have him locked up yet again, like he has in the past seasons, but the stakes and tension here were not undercut as they might sometimes normally have been. I also love that he talks to himself, like, yes, don't forget that my boy does not shut up. Then we have Sora Frack Wildfire Ryu storyline, and that was a sleeper one for me. I didn't really know what I was going to expect from them. I knew that there probably was going to be some friction going on there. I was worried about Frack's crush and all that, but I liked this one way more than I thought I would. Remember what I said about legacy characters? Yeah, guilty as charged, guys. My bad, at least I know who I am. Know who I am? Well... So, these plotlines are all good, but why do they hit better than other plotlines? Well, it's because there is no time to waste, and the writing does a good job of capitalizing on that time. So, let's talk about functions of a scene here for a second. Follow with me here, this is a tangent that makes sense. This, as the name suggests, is the way a scene functions as a story, aka the information we are given. In screenwriting, you are not only pressed for time, but you also have to communicate everything: depth of emotion, narrative, character growth, emotional stakes, etc., either visually or stated directly. And everyone's gonna be lifting up their pitchforks if you just straight out say, like, oh, I'm so sad because of this. Don't do that in your dialogue. Please do not do that. And obviously, you can't just info dump like that at all. No. It has to be drip-fed and tangibly relevant in every aspect of the show, or at least relevant in some level. And by the way, my credentials for knowing all this is that I have 2 degrees in writing, and one of them is screenwriting, so here are the functions. Each scene should establish or progress at least 2 of these, but ideally more than 1 in each scene. Character, theme, motif, and plot. That all can be very hard to pull off. You might want to show this side of a character, but if it has no relevance to the plot, you need to scrap that idea. And I do mean need. Or find a way for it to fit into your story by making it relevant to the plot. Let me break this down for you. Take the scene where Lloyd discovers that he was supposed to have gone to the Whispering Wood when he came of age. Plot. The Whispering Wood is dying, and it's kind of Lloyd's fault. Though we know that this is more complicated than just that, it's still the issue that Lloyd is going to be trying to solve in his plotline. Also, as a little side thing, this gives some lore to Aaron and Euphrasia, who were not aware that Lloyd was forcibly grown up way back when. Character. We all know Lloyd has a lot of issues with being the chosen one. To put it very lightly, his identity as a green ninja put a lot of weight on his head. Thinks he has to bear that weight on his own, we know this. So, to be told that he failed as a green ninja, ooh, that's terrible at him. And on top of that, he discovers that there was an unforeseen consequence of the Tomorrow's Tea. And it's all just wrapped together very neatly. Then we have the Dragon Lady, which you would think I would have looked up what her name was or figured it out as I watched, but now I'm recording this, so I don't know her name, I forgot. She's established as a semi-antagonist, more so a force that we as an audience can get frustrated with. As much as we understand her POV, we understand Lloyd's so much better. Her stance on Lloyd obviously changes rather quickly, but we still see her as a kind of obstacle in a way. We're also worried about what's going to be happening because, her life depends on Lloyd's success. Motif. It's a little hazy, I would say. This is something as small as like a vibe of the place. I mean, this planet's green, life itself, there's energy even. The Whispering Wood is visceral enough that you and your mind could go crazy envisioning the place. So that kind of works. I would say maybe motif here is the more lightest thing that we have going on. Then we have theme. This is slowly implemented the longer Lloyd is in the Whispering Wood. It's not directly right away super immediate. What we do know is that this is going to be revolving around life, paths, and such. We know that Lloyd probably can't go through his Green Ninja trial because he's deeply rooted. Rooting is probably kind of like a motif here. Actually, let me just say that. Plants and roots, that kind of stuff is the motifs we got going here. But theme, he's deeply rooted in his path. So we know that the theme is going to revolve around realistically change, or whether or not you can change, and how that works under the umbrella of life itself as a giant theme throughout the season. So as you can see, this scene itself is a good example of how tightly written everything is going on in this season. And despite these scenes being rapidly chopped up, the idea still applies. Consider how much everything is tied together, the layers of what's going on. Even Frack's plotline with his dad, who has nothing to do with the desolation weapon, still gets tied in, and it's very natural. Frack's feelings and emotions are naturally progressed along the way without it seeming like an aggressive neon sign like, look, lesson, look, you can learn something from this. All the characters switch off getting attention. Think of Lloyd's plotline. We still get progression with Euphrasia and Aaron and Zane. Like, wow, that is hard to do. Hold on, did someone say Zane? Oh my god, everyone, his sass is back. Like, stay calm. Oh my god, because I am not. This is not a false alarm, people. Like, he's here. Like, yes. I have been dying since they turned Zane into a fully robot character. I cannot describe how livid I have been. That is not my man. He cooks, and he has prophetic visions, and he's a little autistic, and we love him for it, and he also has such wise advice. Get your damn logic and numbers out of here. That is not his thing. Though, of course, he does say that Pixel changed him, which... put a pin in that. But to me, that's the most obvious flag for an in-universe reason to pivot his character. You totally cannot convince me that Doc Wyatt didn't tweak his character for the season because people were very unhappy about Zane. That is just my theory. That is what I choose to believe. I have never looked at that man's Twitter before. If you saw my old video, you know I'm not digging through Twitter. No, none of that. I'm convinced that this is the case, and I will believe that. There is no way that he planned for Zane to act differently until Pixel came back. Nope. Especially, we know that Brent Miller has said the higher-ups or whoever, like, I don't know, wanted Zane to be more robotic, that being his most marketable quality. And to change that suddenly now just does not align with that trajectory. Oh, but who cares? He's back. I am so glad he's back. He is a wise yet silly man. He's not good of his own feelings or others, but he always tries. And to make him just all about logic, have you seen the show? He's a little sweetheart. He's thoughtful. He tries. If I wasn't standing in my kitchen cooking, I would have been laying on my bed kicking my feet when Zane has that conversation with Floyd. It really got to me. He felt so, like, philosophical again. Don't focus on his doubts. Sketch. Art helps process problems when logic-based thinking doesn't. This is also a really good lesson anyways, so it fits in really well with the show. I like that. Lloyd says that that's the opposite of Zane, which... I don't know about that. Like, he was never an artist, but he also was never, like, a rigid, logic-only thinking, so, like, oh, whatever. Anyways, this is so character-driven. There's truly no one else they could have put in Zane's place and have it work. He's giving Lloyd exactly what he needs now to process this stressful process. Why did I write my script like that? It's a unique and touching way to have them both connect. I just loved it. It made me so happy. I also just love the fact that Zane helps comfort that dragon lady. Should I have Googled her name by now? As I'm sitting down and recording this all in one take. Probably. He's there to comfort her, and her being basically like the dragon in life. Basically. She is a little confused because, he's robot, he's synthetic. How would he have feelings? But we all know that he has feelings. And he tells her that he can feel his feelings, and he might not always know how to communicate them at times, but he tries. But it also adds such a very interesting layer to the overall theme of this season, which of course is life. Zane would be the embodiment of something that's not life, yet he is. And this dragon that represents the embodiment of life is kind of confused by him, but seems to think that despite being a machine, he's also still very authentically alive. And I'm trying to decide how much that really makes me think, because we obviously always known that that is exactly who Zane is. He is this synthetic, not complete human being, but he essentially acts like one, comes across as one, and has thoughts and feelings just like one. It kind of just reminds me about Woo's whole lesson from episode 2, season 1 home. What makes us different? We're all brothers, We're all one and the same. Just because people are not the exact same as you doesn't mean someone that has, like, no human substance to them just because they're different. which could be one way to interpret it, but I just love to be able to think about this concept so much because I don't it's just like you would think Zane wouldn't be connected to life energy because he's not like that, but he does and it works and I am gonna be letting this rattle in my brain for so long. So thank you Ninjago for that. So I had to sit there and think, what about this season was different? How can I define it? What was going on here that's different than everything else? Like what made this season something that grabbed my attention? And I think it really comes down to the fact that this season kept subverting what I expected to happen, and it was great. I've seen enough Ninjago to be like, I bet I know where this is going. You know, nothing really surprises me anymore. I kept expecting it to fall in that same rhythm, and it just didn't. I usually expect something to be undercut by a joke or whatever. I also expect it to not really follow through to the furthest extent that I expect Ninjago to do so. And it did not do that. Everything felt so unexpected, and so that's why I enjoyed it so much. Like, for starters, I really thought they were gonna be leaning into Frack's crush, and I was dreading that. I was gonna be like, oh, not this again, not another silly little Ninjago crush. No! If anything, they're giving us reasons why they would be good together. Not full reasons, but we see Sora and Frack bond, rather than Frack being like, oh my god, like, she's just so like, wow, I like her. You know, he has reasons. She helps him out. And I think there was just a lot of good messaging coming from this, especially, you know, the multiple true potentials, like, yes. It's something that I actually was thinking about the last time I was rewatching season 1. I was like, you know, this is a good example for kids, but I wonder if it makes it feel like this is only ever like a one-time thing that can happen when it's like, you know, your entire life you realize things about yourself and you can grow and change, yada, yada, yada. And so I love that they bring it up as like, obviously you don't just have one, like, exactly. They very obviously upped the maturity for this season. You see this in like dialogue. Jay threatens someone with intense violence. You're like, whoa, you just said that out loud in my Ninjago? You have Jaya making out crazy style, which, I mean, you know, yeah, I would too, man. They mentioned damaging Jay's brain, which, okay, this Lego man got a brain now. And his reason behind wanting to do so is that he had a wonderful life that he wants to remember, and he won't accept just making new memories. Oh, that is a lot to think about. You know, imagine being in his shoes. It's crazy. You know, you have what's her face, Beatrix. Oh, should I know what her name was too? Yeah, why don't you Google that? I think it's Beatrix. Doesn't she have like a twin? This is why I need to rewatch the first few seasons. Her being organic to her mech now. Ooh, okay, body horror in Ninjago. I see you. There's also a lot of stuff about death, which you would never really think a kids show would dip into, but honestly, a lot of them really do. I think at this point, us as an internet society, need to just grapple with the fact that, you know, kids shows do be talking about death, so let's relax. This isn't super dark, it's just true. You know, it's the near death of Rontu. Obviously, Ryu has some stakes going on, the Whispering Wood almost dying out, just, yeah. There was also something that really surprised me and also really just kinda shocked me to the core in a way, I guess you would describe it as that. The discussion of parental neglect. That just because someone related to you doesn't mean that you have to take their abuse. And on top of that, it is very hard for someone to accept that their childhood was disruptive because you want to be defensive. You want to play it off as, no, like, we just don't get it. Not all of us can just walk away from our family. I am, of course, referring to Frack in his storyline with his father. That one hit heavy. It also really hit close to home. There was so much dialogue there and so many examples set for kids that I thought this is such a wonderful thing for the writers to have chosen to do. And it also adds such a nuance to Frack's character, and it worked really well just in the storyline itself, like it was all tied together, and I love that so much. Frack trying to say, you don't understand my family, like you just can't speak your mind, and Sora saying, you're not a kid anymore, he doesn't have to treat you like that. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine what it would have been like for me to hear that as a kid. Wow. Like, talk about an important life lesson. I kind of wish this one had gotten resolved differently, and it's mostly because of my own personal experiences being inserted. But, like, I can see why it's maybe a little bit better of an example to set that as a kid, if you're expressing your emotions and feeling, it's a good thing because it can be the most effective way to improve your situation. So I get why that happened. You know, it gives them hope that things can get better. At least that's how I was taking it. I also think it's probably the little bit more natural thing to do, considering that Frack and his dad are both Serpentine, because, being a Serpentine really does complicate things. I'm white, so obviously I don't know what it's like to be marginalized for your race. But from the people I know and love, and the stories I've heard, it's obviously a reflection of a real life immigrant marginalized household. Frack's dad talking about having to work twice as hard for respect and kind of having to do tough love for his son, slash working hard to give him a better life, fits into that narrative. His dad knows the full extent of what it means to be a serpentine, and he doesn't want Frack to have to grow up in that world, and so he kind of had to do what he did, and he wants to give him a legacy that he's proud of. It's also the fact that two things can be true. Frack was neglected, but his dad was doing what he thought was right. It's a very lose-lose situation, but hopefully their relationship can heal from here and they can understand each other better. So, it's not the worst execution I've seen of that plotline. If anything, it just makes a lot of sense. We also, of course, have Lloyd and anxieties and self-doubt. This is something Dragons Rising has been doing for quite some time now, and I feel like it's all been executed very well. And this season only adds on to it. His biggest enemy is himself, which of course is real anxiety. That is the hugest anxiety moment. I have been held back because of it. And now I have reached my true potential by taking Zoloft. His whole issue with being the protector of the Whispering Wood is because the more life experience he's had now means he has more anxieties and more self-doubt that at the end of the day is going to complicate him reaching his status as the protector of the Whispering Wood. The dragon lady, why do I not know her name? The protector of the Whispering Woods thinks that he's too deeply rooted in his path for him to change now. He also just has a lot going on that can go through his mind and make it harder for him to be open up to this new thing. But at the end of the day, he learns that with his friends at his side, he can give his energy to them and they can return it back to him, and that's how they both can thrive. Is clearly showing the importance of relationships and a support network, especially platonic ones. I love that so much. I would not be where I am today without my own platonic relationships and support network. It is the most important thing you can have, and it is the most helpful tool to fight back against anxiety. So it's such a perfect thing for them to bring up into Lloyd's storyline. On top of that, the way Lloyd is able to talk to himself, or at least this version of himself that is just his self-doubts manifested, he tells him, "You are my weakness to come to life, and I won't give you any more power." You might as well have told me that my therapist said that. That is literally just how that works, or at least how you can kind of work through anxiety. It just felt like such a therapist thing. His resolve to get through it, it leads him to take on a different form than any other has done. And so I love that while Lloyd kind of failed his trial, he still technically didn't, because he is something completely different, because he always has been. There is a heavy theme of life, love, parentheses, feelings throughout this entire season. The concept of being deeply rooted in one's path, which just isn't true, and we can be open to change and growth, always. Lloyd proves this. There's also the concept of needing family, friends, or energy to help you get through tough times that life throws at you. And taking energy from the people around you and then giving it back shows that the scales tip both ways. There's also just the concept thrown around that life is strange, but life is also ordinary, and it's also a lot of things. There's not just one size fits all for life. It's all something very unique for each person and their path. We have that obviously contrasted with Beatrix ruining her empire for her own personal gain, and just being the embodiment of the exact opposite of this theme. So like that quite a bit. I think I'm very interested in how they go forward with this, but I thought this was a very solid half in terms of those themes. Also, another thing about this season, it is a healthy balance of nostalgia and new content. Jay's memories, we get literal flashbacks from old seasons. I mean, that's literally just that's for some of the OGs, They reference old things from time to time. There's lines that are reused. We get to see Lloyd with his younger self, with the old voice actor. Like, oh my gosh. And then the old themes for certain characters, like hearing Lloyd's little kid theme again. Oh my gosh. Like, I was like, stop. There is no way they just did that. Like, it was just so awesome. They obviously knew ahead of time that this would be coming out during the whole 15th anniversary and all. So to integrate nostalgia throughout was the right call. I didn't like everything though. Yeah, that's kind of to be expected. There's Pixel. Listen, I don't like Pixel. I never have. I wouldn't exactly call myself a hater because at this point I haven't been given a reason to hate her, and that's exactly the problem. There's nothing there and I can't stand it. Breaking down her character would be a video in itself, and I'm not going to be making said video because everything ParachutingKitten has said in hers is my thoughts to a T, and I don't want to just regurgitate her exact video. So go watch that. It's just so annoying at this point, and a little unexcusable. What do you mean after Zane misses her for so long and then they dedicate an entire episode to getting her back? She just has one line and does nothing this first half. And this is an ongoing issue. At this point, I don't expect her to be doing anything in the second half at all. Gonna be perfectly honest. She has been a part of this cast since season 3, and she hardly has a personality. She has yet to do anything. And don't comment, remember that one season where she had an episode where she did this? Or that other season where she did that? Yeah, I know. I know that. I have seen everything. And all those episodes prove to me is that they don't know what to do with her. I should be able to envision how these characters can play off each other. If I pitched you an idea like, Pixel and Cole go and investigate something strange going on in this random city, could you tell me what sort of friction there might be there? How they'd work together? How they'd balance each other out? A single line concept like this should be interesting in itself because you already know what to expect. Contrast it to this. Imagine Kai and Jay are doing the same thing. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how much of a train wreck that'd be? It'd probably be a hilarious side plot. See what I'm saying here? Let me break down my frustrations with this season. Zane talks highly of Pixel. I like that. It's a good example to set for how a male presenting partner should treat a female presenting partner. However, it's hard to go further with that because it's seemingly the only avenue we get for any sort of characterization from Pixel. And it's off screen. She gets him to use slang. She teaches him about sketching as a different form of meditation, which he uses as a way to help Lloyd. It's not Pixel doing it. It benefits Zane. It benefits two male characters. This scene with Lloyd and Zane would play out the exact same way without Pixel's name drop. And no one would assume that Zane learned this because of Pixel, because that's not a thing she's ever done. At this point, she's just his accessory. She basically doesn't have relationships with the other ninja. None of them talk about her outside her relationship with Zane. Like, damn! Wasn't her character all about gaining her free will? Of course, we all know that was a half-baked concept back then, so... Oh, but she's just a side character. Sure, she's only just been through literally every season since season 3 and hasn't had anything solid to do. Her most interesting thing was becoming the new Samurai X. Her taking on the mantle was more for development of Neo's character than Pixel's, so it doesn't really impact it. It doesn't do much for the plot. But sure, the cast is huge. It's hard to insert time into the season with her. She had to be sidelined. But consider Gio. He's like the obvious side character. And yet, this season, he helps cook. He helps take care of Rontu. He's helping out Mr. Frohike. These two seem to have some sort of dynamic going on. And he helps out Cole. And this all happens in like a few seconds of screen time. In contrast, Pixel is off screen, allegedly still looking for the other ninja because there's no mention of Zane contacting her and letting her know that he found Lloyd. She doesn't show up. Whatever, it'd be hard to fit her in. But what is she doing? Why couldn't she be back helping at the monastery? That's already like side character central. She could be helping them with Rontu and such. And on top of that, she's not even in the final battle. Or mid-season battle, whatever. Did Zane just not bother to tell her? What is the point of having established her as a good fighter if she's just not part of the fighting? Wouldn't you think Samurai X would want to be there? Like, come on now. I know there's so many people to try and fit into this final battle, and it would be hard to highlight her anyways, but just make her show up and don't worry about her. Let her be in the background at the very least. It feels like a plot hole for her not to be there. All we get is this. They dance. She says, Zane, are you okay? Lloyd goes, wow, that voyage with Pixel really did a number on you. Notice how this all just revolves around Zane? Oh, but then we see her painting at the end of Zane, and he's like spooning her or whatever. As far as I'm aware, she's never been an established artist. When did she pick this up? Because it seems like the main benefit for her being an artist was for Zane to use that to help out Lloyd this season. Like, huh? Her so-called hobby is used to progress a male character's storyline. Like, come on now. This is just so obvious. I'm just tired of it. Her character's like the biggest nothing burger. If she's gonna be part of the cast for so long, the least they could do was incorporate her more thoughtfully. We don't know things about her. She doesn't have an established personality. And no one, yet, even still, has taken the time to figure out what that is. I'm just so over it. I don't even know how I feel. If they incorporated her somehow in the end of this season, would I feel much better about it? I feel like we're kind of just at a loss at this point, but I'm willing to hear y'all's takes, but it's not looking up for me in the pixel department. Anyways, that's mostly what I have to say, but here's some quick things to wrap up my thoughts. There is no way they had that callback with Bolobo. Are you kidding me? I had to pause and just scream. They must have seen all the edits going around. There was that weird line of I was faking it every time. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, Ninjago sex joke. Okay. I like the inclusion of Nia being a really great inventor. We already knew that about her character, but Jay acknowledging it like a million bajillion times was not only killing me, but also I was like, exactly, lift her up. The fight scenes were animated like crazy. I don't know what the budget was, but woo, they were using it. It's very interesting to me that Cole seems to have a better grasp on his elemental powers because he was able to touch the the desolation coil or whatever it was, and not really have much issue for it. It actually was a boon for him, so I thought that was really cool. Again, I loved Euphrasia's voice actor. Her voice is so lovely. Lloyd's dragon voice was, like, I don't know what it was, but I just wanted to mention it. His voice sounded so interesting. I liked it. It felt very, like, heroic, but it reminded me of something, and I can't put my finger on it yet, but it was something. I was also genuinely surprised that Zane's chopper actually had importance, and Jay's car. At this point, I expect the Lego sets to be literally nothing. Like, most of them, honestly, a lot of the time, I'm like, they didn't even use this in the show. You just kind of made, like, a random thing. And so when I saw that set, I was like, oh, here's another stupid, like, fake vehicle that they're never gonna use. And then they did. I was like, oh, egg on my face. My bad. It has been true in the past. Aaron x Euphrasia. Oh no, this is what I'm talking about with couples. Ooh, I'm liking this. See, you can get the hint of just the way they're kind of around each other that we should be maybe thinking about them in a romantic context. They're kind of pushing that, but they're not throwing that in our face being like, and they're together now. This is not, Pilot Jaya, where it's like, they don't know each other yet. Why does he like her? Why do they like each other? They have such cute conversations. I see how they fit together before I'm thinking about, oh, the show kind of wants us to want this. And I love that. Oh, I love that. I was generally expecting some sort of cheesy line from Zane where he was like, oh, I know that look, to like Aaron or someone. But he didn't, because old Ninjago totally would have brought that up. They totally would have been like, oh my god, I see you. Like, ooh, you must like her. Like, you would think certified lover boy over here would have been like, I know who you are, I also never really considered them as a couple before. So I was like, oh, I did not clock. Like, I like that. There's the implication too that these characters are both black. And so I'm like, okay, Ninjago. Okay, Ninjago having a black couple. Like, I see you. I know they're yellow, but like, we all know. We're well aware. We can use our eyes and context clues to understand what these characters would look like as humans. Like, come on now, people. Like, grow up. I can with some of y'all in comment sections on TikTok. Like, relax. It's very interesting leaving off on the first Spinjitzu Master having created the Weapon of Desolation. At this point, he's created everything, which, I mean, didn't he? But it's one of those things I'm like, okay, why did he do all that? Like, I guess we're gonna have new lore. So I'm curious what that means. And the fact that the weapon was kind of controlling Beatrix. So I'm like, oh, how are we gonna play with that come the second half of the season? So I'm waiting rather hopefully that it's gonna pay off really well. But we'll just have to see from now. There's also another tease about Roz's master, so I'm like, oh, we're leaving off on that note. Don't know who that's gonna be. Not really much of a theorist, so don't ask me for what I think's gonna happen in Jago. I really don't ever expect anything, but apparently I didn't for this season either, so don't ask me about all this stuff. But I think we're probably gonna be figuring out who this is the second half of this season, so I am ready for that. Like, please finally tell me who this is. Like, why are we dangling this carrot so much? Like, also, why didn't Cole turn into a dragon guy? We have this whole setup of this being about Lloyd's relationships and powering them up, and it's just like for no reason it doesn't happen with Cole, which I'm like, what a way to find out that Lloyd does not give a fuck. Like, maybe there's something I'm missing here because, again, I don't remember what happened season 1 through 3 and why Cole wouldn't be a part of that because he hasn't been a part of things, but I'm just confused. I don't know why I did that. I was like, oh, how is Cole? I'd be like, oh, okay. Oh, this is about, like, all your relationships. Cool. Like, I guess it makes sense why I didn't get powered up like that. Like, sorry, Lloyd. Like, didn't know we weren't till. But that's gonna be all we have for today. I hope y'all liked the season just as much as I did because, woo! That was actually very enjoyable. I love the fact that I felt so energized to make a video about it because never thought I was going to talk about Dragon Age Rising until I got there in terms of, talking about every season in Ninjago. So it's that serious, we had to jump ahead. Of course, thank you all for watching and making this far in the video. I really appreciate it. I feel like I should always be saying like, comment, and subscribe, but I feel corny saying that. So just know I think it. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!